Hi, Cami. How are you?
I'm good. How about you, Richard?
Doing really well this morning. Thank you, and thanks for joining us. As we mentioned a minute ago before we got on air, I was fascinated by really digging in to everything you're doing with Backfield Media and your mission and your story. And thanks for accepting my cold outreach to come on the show today.
Yeah, so I was like, yeah, that'd be a really great opportunity to just to like share the background and everything of Backfield Media because sometimes I tell bits and pieces, but sometimes it just gets lost in everything just going on. So,
Well, yeah, it does, right? And maybe that's a great way to start because as I learned as I dug into the Backfield Media story, you are juggling a lot of things. You're
mhm.
juggling life as a journalist, as a founder of Backfield Media, as a student. But maybe we'll go back to the beginning, Cami. What sparked your first love, I guess, for sports and for storytelling?
I would have to say it started with just knowing that my dad, he really enjoys sports. He always
Hmm.
watched it avidly. And then my brother, he played sports for a little bit. So that kind of piqued my interest into football initially.
Nice.
At one point, I did want to play ball. I was like, "No, you're gonna get injured." So I was like, "Okay, I guess not. I'll
I
just
guess
watch from
not.
the sidelines." But it was really just something just interesting throughout my life.
Yeah.
Also, as a military brat, just gained that knowledge and stuff.
Nice.
I didn't really start learning more about sports in the specifics until I really got into what I was doing. So I was like, okay, this is a lot of positions, this is a lot of people. It's kind of like learning for exams sometimes. So
You feel like
yeah.
you're cramming.
Yeah, but it's really fun as I've been able to like collaborate with some amazing
Yeah.
people like I do now. One big collaborator that I have now is Sports Plug.
Yep.
They're very well known in the Virginia DMV area, so I am really grateful to be able to work with them in that capacity and just like continue to build out my brand with them.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Backfield Media, it's a clever name. I love it. I mean, from the football connotation, everybody kind of knows the backfield.
Mhm.
But how did you come up with that, Cammy?
I just saw it as like there's always players in the backfield. There's always like that
Yep.
support for the guys up front.
Hmm.
And so I just see it as like we're always gonna be supporting whether on the sidelines, wherever we are. It doesn't matter what aspect of the game it is, like whether off the field or on the field, like that's the point of the coverage. Just like to see who you are as a person, not just who you are as a player.
I love that, and what you just said too about like how people don't realize how that there's always plays in the backfield, right?
Mhm.
And being that support system for the folks up front. Maybe part of that is what drives your mission, which I know is very athlete first and very community driven. That's really the mission of Backfield Media. But maybe you could just tell us in your own words a little bit about, what is Backfield Media? What is it trying to accomplish?
So really just what we're trying to well, I'm trying to
Yeah.
accomplish as I'm building out my own team. It's really just making sure that these kids, whether they're in youth or even in the higher divisions and higher levels, that they're
Mm,
able to get that coverage. And some of them are even undercovered, even though they're in
right.
these big leagues and they're in these big positions and they're like, I'm in this position, but I'm not getting the coverage. And
Mm,
like, I'm just doing all these things. And I feel like I'm just not getting to the place I want to be at. And so a lot of them feel discouraged. And I feel
mm,
like that weighs on them mentally. Sometimes it weighs on them if they're not doing good at education. Just having the advocacy there
right.
is also really important
Right.
because I personally grew up as an IEP kid. So
Hmm.
just knowing that
You've been
and
there.
how it could possibly affect me more as an athlete
Hmm.
is also, something that stuck out to me, like, yeah, if I'm having these difficulties as a regular student, they're probably
Yeah.
having a harder time with all the schedules and everything going on.
Yeah. Yeah. For
Yeah.
sure. And I'm glad you mentioned mental health and education, because I know both those are really important to you, Camille. Sort of you emphasize mental health, you emphasize advocacy, mentorship. Have athletes been able to open up to you about this? And what have you learned from them when they've opened up to you?
They have opened up to me during interviews, whenever I ask questions about, like, how they do with school and how they do with just maintaining mental health, and, like, the biggest thing that the biggest pattern I would say is just the teammates around them.
Mm,
And just that camaraderie. Like, if
yeah.
they have a good system and good, like, support system especially, they're able to really grow and develop,
Hmm.
whereas if it's not like, very I won't say very bad, but more so more dysfunctional.
Right.
Like, if you see in media, like in Last Chance U,
Mhm.
there's a lot more dysfunctionality, there's a lot more for themselves.
Sure.
So there's less, like, for the team. So, I would say, in that aspect, it's just a lot of if they have that support, they're able to grow, but if they don't have that support, they're just going to, like, kinda fall into
Well,
their own ways, and
that's really
it
important.
may hurt them more. Yeah.
Yeah, and I appreciate what you say about athletes that have felt comfortable opening up to you because I know that takes work, right? You have to build their trust and you have to build that camaraderie. So good on you for that. Um, this is a trendy space, Cami. How do you? I try to follow the media trends closely, but how do you kind of talk about impact storytelling and what you're trying to do, and also follow all the trends going on right now? Do you sleep?
I
I mean,
yeah, I try to consider as many sides as I can. Like, there's always going to be the fan side. There's always going to be the media side.
right.
Of course, not everyone's going to come with good intentions or going to say very nice things.
Yeah.
So, I do try to consider like if this is going to be told in a very good light, I want to make sure it's at least neutral enough that it will also
Okay.
be understandable for those that may not agree or may disagree with what I have to say. And like, I'm okay if they don't agree with me being a neutral party, but
Right.
really the goal is just to educate and just to really be able to educate those that may not know much about sports
Yeah.
and just bring them in without like saying, hey, this is just a bunch of jargon that you probably don't understand.
Well, and I like that about what you're doing, Cami, because again, you are maintaining neutrality because I understand a big part of what you are trying to do is sort of that education and explaining the impact that can be made here, and you don't necessarily have to take a side to do that, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. You're growing. You're growing 15,000 views a month. Now you're at 100 and you're 10x that. You're now at
Mhm.
150,000. How have you kind of created a for people who are trying to scale their own, what habits, I guess, have helped you build that audience? And also, a two-part question, I guess, is you're so authentic, Cami. How do you maintain your authenticity too?
Oh, well, that's a really good question.
But we'll start with
Yeah,
the easy one. How'd you grow the
yeah,
audience?
yeah. But I'll start off with the just not being afraid of collaboration, just
Mhm,
always being able to work with others.
mhm.
And, like, if they do have something and it you may not agree with it at the moment, but it'll come back to you and like, "Okay, I see what you're saying."
Yeah.
Because I can be a bit of a stubborn person at times, and that's really just because of my and, just how I've been as a founder, just being in my own
You have to be.
ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, so really just bringing in those ideas and
Mhm.
just understanding where they're coming from or
Yep.
where it could possibly apply. It's really just being open to that collaboration and that, like, even if they're coming from a smaller space, like, still just taking them in and trying to contribute where you can.
Right, right. Yeah, that's good. And how do you maintain your authenticity? Is it just something that you were kinda born into? It sounds like you come from a background where, your dad's military. There's probably a lot of authentic aspects to how you folks have grown up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just being able to, like because of where I had grown up and how I've been able to grow up, I think it's been a very big factor
Mm.
to my content. Like, I originally wanted to be an influencer, but I realized, okay, I'm kinda already doing that, but I
Right.
don't need to,
Yeah.
like, have the label.
Right.
And that's yeah, that whole thing, I was just like, "Okay, I don't really need to, like, fend for these things, but I
Mhm.
do feel I have that impact without, like, saying what I am."
Yeah, I appreciate that a lot. I was again digging into a lot of the work that you do in a typical production week. You've got film room Sundays, you've got Friday spotlights, you've got so much creative energy that you need to keep flowing.
Mhm.
Uh, how do you kind of drive through a typical production week? Are you just very disciplined about setting time aside to do work on Backfield Media? I'm curious as to how you manage through that.
So, this past few weeks, I wasn't able to, like, fully do my schedule as I
Sure,
intended, but, just because exams and personal stuff in life,
sure, of course.
but, I would just say, like, I always try to take notes, like, either the day of or the, like, night before, it's just to get a good idea of, like, what happened at, like, certain levels,
Mm,
and then I try to just see what people are saying, of course, as I said earlier, like, whether it is media, whether it is just seeing the different, sports pages that are also, like, very well known,
Right.
just have that immediate traction to these news. So
Nice.
they're a very good help, even though some of them aren't always positive, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
just knowing those things is just really helpful in just being able to set up my production,
Mhm.
even though one person, of course, and still trying to grow it out. It's just it can be difficult at times just having that time and having that energy,
Yeah.
but just being able to do it is very exciting and just very just something to look forward to, really.
Well, and for folks that haven't seen what you do yet on Backfield Media, I like how, you have high quality production. You do the solo shots of you, and then you've also got, you're breaking down things. You've got film running. You're doing, like almost multi-screen, multimedia approaches there. I like how you're breaking down plays and schemes for fans, right? What do you think? What do you think makes, or I should say, you're trying so very hard to make kind of sports education content engaging rather than intimidating, right? So,
Mhm.
I appreciate how you do that. And what do you think makes for great sort of sports education content?
It would be like, a lot of people are visual learners or they're very
Yeah.
tactical, so
Mhm.
really just using that and knowing that
Yeah.
is just not just saying, "These are the plays, these are the stats," like,
Yeah.
actually showing them what's happening and what's being
Breaking
walked
it down.
through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
exactly how it would for, like, an athlete, like, they get the actual playthroughs and they get the actual scene of the plays, so really just doing similar ideas, similar, way of walking through it is just a very helpful way
Yeah.
for a lot of students that's, like, whether they go through tutoring or anything that you go through with school or even just life in general.
Yeah.
Like,
Uh,
it's a very tactical method.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and like you said, you've been there too, right? In your
Yeah.
own educational journey, so I'm sure part of what you're doing is how would I approach this, right? What would speak to me? What would allow me to learn and feel educated without feeling intimidated? So, I think of you as like this like color commentator that really goes to the next level, to the next level, to the next level to really explain what's happening. Are there folks in the business today, journalists, color commentators that you particularly admire, Cami? Or if you don't want to say names, maybe just the kinds of journalists and commentators that you really admire?
There's actually quite a few that I could name.
Yeah.
So I would have to start off with Mike Greenberg.
Yeah.
He was the one that I was initially introduced to because I was looking for books to see, like, what I could get more knowledge on sports, and although there wasn't a ton, I just noticed this book that stuck out to me
Yeah.
in the college bookstore, and I was like, "Okay, this looks like an interesting book," and he was giving out his opinion on, like, the different players amazing, players in different sports. It's like, okay. He gave, like, very, thorough
Yeah.
background on, like, what they did, how they advocated for the things that they stood for, and I
That's
was
so
like,
cool.
yeah, and I like that, style, and I wanted to bring it into my own content,
That's so
and that
cool.
was yeah, and that was something that I was like, "Oh, I think I could do this for a long time," because I do a lot of things in terms of advocacy. I've
Mhm.
done a lot of women's advocacy before I, got into college, so I think that was just something that really stuck out to me, and
Mhm.
then another one is Demetria Obalor.
Oh, I don't know
She
this person. Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
she does a lot of, like, um street interviews sometimes. She does go to, like, the beer games. She's based in Las Vegas, I believe,
Okay.
and she does a lot of, like, commentary on just, like, different games and just different predictions,
Nice.
and just that openness and that comfort that she has to be able to, like, stand by those predictions is
Mm.
also something that stood by me.
I like how you say that she has the comfort and the conviction to stand by those predictions and not
Mhm.
be sort of maybe intimidated or whatever else.
Mhm.
So speaking of intimidation, you are in this space. It's very male dominated. You are a female who is blazing a trail in this space. Do you run up against some challenges associated with that, Cami, or do you just kind of not even let that bother you?
I would say occasionally, like, I have noticed a pattern that sometimes, just some fan base in just
Sure.
in general, like, they don't stay because of their content, they stay because of, like, the type of person I am
Mhm.
and just the fact that I'm a woman in the space.
Yeah.
And so I try not to, like, voice that issue
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
as to not alienate anyone or try to dismiss anyone. And I always try to put disclaimers if somebody doesn't agree, of course,
Yeah.
or if
That's
it's, like, a very strong opinion of mine.
yeah.
But really, I would say the main difficulties or main things I've had probably struggled with is just having that full confidence as I'm very
Yeah.
introverted, and it doesn't seem like I'm that way when I do my content.
Sure.
And so a lot of people may get that confused, like, if I don't respond immediately or if I don't, like, entertain or interact with them immediately. It's not like I'm trying to discourage them or
Right.
trying to dismiss them. It's really just trying to get to every type of audience that I can, especially women,
Yeah.
as they just need that, welcoming space as I would say, football especially, it's welcoming, but not to the point that, like, a lot of women are just very
Yeah.
drawn to it.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, I think we've made such tremendous strides in the space in the last few years, with women feeling more open and welcome into male dominated sports, and then of course women's sports in general
Mhm.
is having a moment, which is remarkable. But we're not done, right? There's a lot. There's still still a lot of work.
There's still a ton of work to be
Yeah,
done,
there's
and
still a lot.
it's not even just me, it's like a generations go on.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
I say as a yeah, as as I really just develop in this space, like, I'm not exactly where I want to be at, but I know I'm at a place where I could comfortably,
Mm,
still control my narrative and still have the bits and pieces from everyone else too. So I always try to make sure I give credit where credit's due, and I
nice.
always try to acknowledge them as well.
Yeah, you seem like a very empathetic and very humble person in that regard. I'll say from my own perspective, when I started this show 4 years ago, people were like, "Why is this, white middle-aged guy talking about women entrepreneurs and creating a platform for women entrepreneurs?" And I just sort of was like, that was hard sometimes on my
Mhm.
confidence. And I just said, I'm just going to keep pushing out content and the best content that I can push out, and I think people will see it. And I can see that's happening with you too. People, I mean, you can't have the kind of numbers that you have without people starting to see it. So good on you for that,
Mhm.
Cami. That's
Thank
wonderful.
you.
I want to go back to what you mentioned a minute ago about advocacy, and we talked at the top of our conversation about you've done work in teen violence awareness. You've done work around mental health. Um, Talk to me a little bit about why this kind of why you as a media personality can kind of shape a healthier, more inclusive sports culture. What is it that you feel like you're doing when it comes to advocacy? Is it just
Really?
awareness? Is that the biggest part of it, Cami?
Yeah, the biggest part of it is awareness,
Mhm.
because, like, as much athletes and as much coaches are in the space, sometimes they don't acknowledge the fact that media plays such a huge role.
Mhm.
And so, really just the narratives that are drawn, of course, they're always going to be acknowledged, but they're not going to be like taken to a point of like they could help, but they also hurt a lot, which we
Yeah.
always say, like, if it's not going to help us, it's probably going to hurt us.
Yeah.
Um, it's it's really just bring that awareness to also put forward the resources,
Mhm.
just not only being the person to say, like, "These are things that are going on," but these are also things that could help you.
Sure.
Just having those things is very beneficial and making sure that, no matter the age, they have that access
Sure.
and they're able to speak to someone, even if it's not someone in their personal life, just someone, they could vent to, they could talk to, just have those moments to breathe, really.
Yeah, I appreciate that. The university that I work at is a D1 school in the Northeast here, and Morgan's Message is a big part of our community. I don't know if you're familiar with Morgan's Message, Cami, and just trying to break down so much stigma, right, as it's associated to athlete mental health and awareness for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed, as I was speaking to Reno, who is I believe he's our social services, and he works with athletes very closely,
Mm,
and he said something along that line as well, like,
yeah.
they lean on to each other a lot, even if they can't immediately lean on to us, they get referred.
Right.
And I like that system a lot because it just kind of pushes them and advocates for them to advocate for each other.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's something that I really appreciate, even if they can't say it to someone else, they can still say it to somebody that they're close to.
Right, exactly, and hopefully find whatever it is that they need or they're looking for,
Mhm.
right? So, I appreciate that work you're doing in advocacy. And then from the community standpoint, I mean, you offer internships, you offer mentorship opportunities. You're finding the next, even though you're still in the middle of it and you're a young person, you're trying to help create the next wave or the next
Mhm.
generation of storytellers and help them find their voices. That's remarkable.
Yeah, that one, that's definitely been a challenge for me because, like, of course, you're always looking for that ideal person, but at
Yeah,
the same time, you have to be very flexible, and I've learned
sure.
that the more flexible you are, the better you can retain and get people back whenever they're not able to contribute right now.
Yeah,
And I noticed that when I was looking for my VP person recently, like, yeah, I really need to be flexible as this position is going to have a lot of workload, not
yeah,
just like when it comes to people, but also paperwork.
yeah,
And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna just give them their time to do what they need to do. If they come back, I'll still have it open. It may be taken depending on what the circumstances are, but I'm always
right.
going to like have that person in mind as like they were very well taken when I was
Yeah.
speaking to them.
That's great. I mean, that's really accepting and welcoming of you, and I think that's, you know, at this stage in what you're doing, the all of these initial interns, hires, collaborators that you bring in are gonna be very impactful, right? So I
Mhm.
appreciate that you're kind of thinking very thoughtfully about that.
Yeah, yeah, I really took into consideration there's just a lot of things going on, like
Yeah.
just with job market and everything. Like, of course, I can't give the ideal situation, but just something
You
that,
will.
well,
Yeah,
yeah,
one day. Yeah,
yeah, one
one day.
day, but
Yeah.
just like something that they can volunteer with and just build their portfolio with at least.
Yeah.
As like my day job, I help a lot of people like building websites and portfolios.
Mhm.
So that they're
Yeah,
to employers. And I'm like, yeah, I could take what I'm doing with my day job and apply it there. So really,
absolutely. Absolutely.
just yeah, and so just like being able to share those skills I have with them
Mhm.
is really important, I feel, and just not limiting them to a certain space or a certain
Nice.
like
Yeah.
area.
Yeah, and I think that's where your mentorship comes in too, right? So that's really important as well. Um, as you know, I'm up here in the Northeast. We're kind of the home of ESPN, right? It's right down, not very far away from where I live. You've talked about ESPN or CBS as sort of dream destinations for you. Um, ultimately, I'm sure you want Backfield Media to evolve into something very large over the next several years. But what is sort of the vision of the future for you, Cami?
Really, I do like being a more in studio person. I just as you've seen with my cons, I have the comfort in that space.
Hmm.
Or even just being able to travel with just being able to travel and meet different athletes would be ideal too, as
Sure.
I'm not really married to a certain place or married to like a certain location. When it comes to sports, like the only thing is I just don't want to be tied to a specific team,
Yeah,
especially.
I get that. Yeah.
I'd rather be with the network to have that flexibility to talk with the different teams and get, like, glimpses and understandings of them.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that a lot. You mentioned how you're thinking a lot about partners and collaborators and those types of things. Would ESPN or CBS or really at Fox? I mean, any major would that be like a dream collaboration for you, Cami? Or is that yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely
Absolutely.
okay, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, when I was thinking about, like, what would happen if I did take on a position with any of these, major networks, um what I would have to do with Backfield Media, and I'm like, if I don't want to dissolve it, I could try and see if it could become a partnership
yeah, for sure.
because I don't want to, like, mess up something that I already built up and I have all these people for, and all of a sudden it's gone, so
Yeah,
I would
I
hate
get
for
it.
that to happen.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Um, I'd love to dig into you a little bit more on the Camille, the fan. Like, so first of all, Camille the journalist, Camille the platform, the media personality, the platform builder. Let's dig into you a little bit as the fan. Um, obviously I know you're at ODU and we talked a little bit about that. We were DMing a little bit back and forth about football and things happening. But do you have a favorite athlete right now that you really watch, you're really excited about
Mm,
on any genre, any sport, doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be football. Yeah.
mhm. Yeah, so someone that I like to watch a lot is somebody that I actually initially interviewed, but then I completely messed up the interview. So it's like that kinda stuck with me, but I did learn a lot from that,
Yeah.
and so, his name is Bryce Duke. I cover him a lot now just because, like, I feel guilty, so that's just, like, my way of just paying my respects back to him, but,
Yeah, I don't know him. What does he do?
yeah, so he's a running back,
Oh, okay.
for Utah now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so he was a transfer from Virginia Tech to ODU for a little bit,
Okay.
and then now he's at Utah now, and now he's getting more of his play time,
Yeah,
and so just seeing that, like, that's very exciting to see, just seeing his progress, like, I'm
that's
always happy
cool.
to see when people progress instead of going the other
Yeah,
direction.
absolutely. We could probably do an entire podcast on just this topic, Sammy, but how do you feel about the transfer portal opening and NIL? Do you think it's good for the game? Do you think it's good for these athletes? I have my opinion. I'm
Yeah.
curious. I'll tell you mine, but I'd love to hear yours.
Mhm. So I'll start with NIL,
Yeah.
just that in general, just athletes getting paid is very beneficial.
Mhm.
Just them getting paid at all is very beneficial to a lot of things in a lot of parts of their life, so it will
Sure.
definitely create a better standard of living for them,
Mhm.
and so, just that aspect,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and also how well they are with their money. I know
Yeah.
I'm kind of iffy with my own management, but, just that just knowing that is we're just very beneficial to them in how they handle it and how they go about it is just something that they need to learn as they go and also take seriously as they do
Agreed.
for us
Agreed.
adults.
Yes, for sure.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
just that's my opinion on that.
Yeah. What about the transfer portal being open now and people being able to move? You mentioned how this
Mhm.
running back went from ODU to no,
Mhm.
from VTech to ODU to Utah.
I would say I would like to see more athletes go what he did with his route, like,
Yeah.
do the first 2 years and then see
Yeah.
what, goes on from there because he did, start to get some playtime, but not a lot,
Yeah.
and he just wants to progress and get a lot more restarts, and I feel like that was beneficial to what he wanted to do.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and now I feel like, a lot more people could be consistent and a lot more people could, like, have that development if they did go a similar route, but of course, not everyone's,
Yeah,
like
I get that not everyone's gonna do that. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I'm kind of in a similar place. I'm very pro NIL like you. I'm very, very pro. I think it's a wonderful thing for these student athletes who give up so much of their livelihood to the game, right? And it's wonderful. With the portal, I do maybe think that it would be interesting if a player had to stay someplace for 2 years before they could transfer, potentially something like that. But I don't know how you would bound people to that, right?
Yeah.
So it's a little challenging. Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, do you have a favorite sports movie, Camille?
I did recently watch okay, so my initial one is, Waterboy with,
Oh my God,
Adam
such a funny
Sandler,
movie.
that's
Yeah.
always a favorite.
Yeah.
But I did recently watch Greatest, and that one was based on a true story about a lineman, I think.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
was recommended by not recommended, but, a athlete I did mention who now is a current active player for ODU.
Okay.
He mentioned, I was like, "Okay, I might want to see that movie," and just the story of it, it's very touching,
Yeah.
and
I that's not yeah, absolutely. Are you a big sports, movie fan, sports documentary fan, both?
I would say I'm more of a sports documentary fan. I
Okay.
like to see different ways that, people can see the stories and see, who they are, not just of course, you're always gonna see them play.
Right.
That can always be found somewhere, so just learning more about people and the different backgrounds is just very interesting. Like, I'm a people person, I would say, like, I try to learn more about them as I can, like, even
Sure.
if it's not within the moment. That's why I like to do the initial interviews and then follow if I'm able to. So really just doing more and just having that interaction
I love it.
is just very beneficial, and, like, I like to see that mirrored within documentaries.
Mm. Yeah, me too. I like the 30 for 30s. I like all those great documentaries. There's so many good ones. Um, Camille, before I let you go and get back to your very busy life, I want you to maybe think about finishing a sentence for me. So, the sentence is: sports media needs more. Fill in the blank. What does sports media need more of?
I would say just need more. Ooh, that's a really good one. Um, I would say, sports media needs to be more. I would say, oof, I cannot think of a word yet.
That's okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is good. People will have to tune in to you
Yeah.
and see what you have to say about that
Yeah.
on your own platform, you know?
Yeah, I'll
For
probably
me,
just do it on my own platform eventually, but, I think I'll just leave it at, like, sports media just needs more people who are willing to be in a team, and
okay.
that speaks for, like, a lot of, layers and levels
I like that.
that
Actually,
yeah.
yeah, I think it's good that you took a minute to think of that because it is, I think people might realize that it's only individualistic, but it's really a team, right?
Mhm,
And having all those layers and all those levels make it really successful. So
mhm.
that's great. And I know you're building your team. So congratulations and best of luck on that.
Yeah,
Camille, let's get some plugs in. At Backfield Media, right, is where people can find you. Your link tree is Backfield Media. Where else can people go to find you, Cami?
so they can also, if they want to just follow me, they can do Dose of Cami, which yeah, that username just came from, like, lot of thinking, just, like just how I present myself, so
That's where I found you.
Just a
Dose of
yeah.
Cami. Yes. Yep.
Yeah, there's a Cami, and then they could always there's a Cami on pretty much all platforms. I may not be active on all of them, but you can find me depending on where you are, whether it's Twitch or even Twitter, just any of those platforms, you can find me and follow me, and then for Backfield Media, it's a bit of a difference on some
Yeah.
of them. So, like, we have at the Backfield Media on
Okay.
Instagram, and then Backfield Media LLC on YouTube,
Awesome.
and then everything else is should be Backfield Media.
Backfield Media. I know your link tree is Backfield Media, which is
Mhm.
hopefully a good place people can start, right? And then kind of
Yes.
find
Yes.
everything there.
Where it has all the
Awesome.
links.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Cami, for taking the time to talk with us. I really appreciate it. Folks, we've been speaking with Cami Lee from Backfield Media. Go ODU. I hope you guys win out the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be on the show.
Thank you so much, and we'll talk again soon.
Alright. I'll
Bye.
see you. Bye-bye.